Welcome to LCCAP Legacy, Decades of Dedication, the podcast that celebrates the incredible individuals who have shaped the heart and soul of the Lawrence County Community Action Partnership.
Each episode, we'll dive deep into the stories of those who have devoted their careers to making a difference, not just in our organization, but in the lives of the people we serve every day.
We'll uncover their journeys, explore the moments that inspire them, and highlight the lasting impact of their commitment to LCCAP's mission.
So whether you're here to learn, be inspired, or simply celebrate the amazing people who make LCCAP what it is, thank you for joining us.
This is LCCAP Legacy, Decades of Dedication.
Let's get started with today's guest.
Hello, and welcome. You are now listening to LCCAP Legacy, Decades of Dedication. I am one of your hosts, Janae Avery, and I am the Marketing and Outreach Coordinator for LCCAP, Lawrence County Community Action Partnership. I have been in this role since June of 2024, so relatively new, but I am thoroughly enjoying the position. And as the Marketing and Outreach Coordinator, this is one of the things that I wanted to start, which was a podcast. So super excited to get this started. And I'm also here joined with my two other co-hosts.
My name is Kimberly Settle. I'm our Agency Services Specialist at Lawrence County Community Action Partnership. And this is going on my 9th year here at LCCAP, and I'm happy to be here and be a part of our very first podcast.
I am Amber Heasley. I am the social media content creator here at LCCAP. I've been here with LCCAP for about 2 years now, and I am super excited for this podcast.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for being hosts along on this show with me. So for our very first episode of Decades of Dedication, we have a special guest, our CEO, Tom Scott. Tom has been the CEO for LCCAP a little over 40 years and has so much to talk about. So let's go ahead and dive right in.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Obviously, I'm Tom Scott. I'm the CEO here of LCCAP. I've been here a little over 40 years in comparison to some of my other fellow members of the team here sitting around the table. We're very fortunate to have the newer, updated version of LCCAP employees to take us in through the new social media world and to hopefully expand not only what we're doing presently online, but for the future as well. So this is going to be an exciting time. I think that we'll see different avenues and opportunities to represent and communicate to the communities the types of programs and services that we offer on a regular basis. So here we go.
Absolutely. So let's get started. You alluded to you were here for 40 years. So take us back to the beginning. What made you come into LCCAP? What was their first position here?
Interestingly, I actually worked for a subcontractor of LCCAP. At that time, it was called Allied Human Services. They had a contract with the Lawrence County Housing Authority. An entity over there was called PASS, Pennsylvania Association of Social Services. That's where we actually did the homemaker and chore program for some of you that may have heard those terminologies floating around for a while. I was picked and asked to assist with some of the administration and activities once I graduated from college. Unfortunately, if you're old enough to remember, 1982 was when the unemployment rate was literally 13%. We're a little over 4 right now. Interest rates were at 17 to 20%. You're around 7. So the economy and the opportunities that were available for a lot of college graduates just weren't there. It was when the recession was really hitting the steel industry and the manufacturing areas of Western PA and most of the country, quite honestly. So we had the most intelligent college-educated basketball players ever playing with no jobs at Rose Avenue Elementary School. So that's where we all hung out till we actually were able to sort of tap onto an opportunity to start our career. So started there working in 1982, was roughly there a little over a year. In the time period of once I got picked and asked to come over to work for the mothership of Allied Human Services at that time, who was the main contractor, was November 1st of 84, and then took a minor position there in the case management world. I believe there were 6 or 7 of us when I first started in a small little office on East Washington Street. We were all stuck in an office. about the size of those of you who have seen my office upstairs.
Yes.
That's about that size. There was 6 of us inside
And
there.
just to give you guys a mental note, his office is pretty big, but if it's 6 of people in there, it's not that big.
Yes.
Lots of time for bonding.
Yeah, wow. Listen, if you sneeze, you had to make sure you didn't hit the person next to you. Right, yeah.
So may I ask you, Tom, what do you enjoy most about your position here at LCAP, Lawrence County Community Action Partnership?
I think it's the excitement of always, today is never the same day ever. It just continually changes. Just as you think you know what the facts are going to be for the day, quite honestly, they move that quickly. We're such a big organization, the dynamics of the programming, the diversity of the programming, the skill sets of our staff members and what they're being asked to do or not do. It creates a lot of unique challenges that it's interesting to see how quickly they can mobilize, how quickly they can adapt, and how quickly they can take on that challenge, whatever that may be for the day. You probably don't realize this, but yesterday afternoon, the governor's office staff came into town, interviewed one of our housing clients, decided that he thought through the governor's office that our client would be a great idea to attend today's governor's budget address in Harrisburg. And so one of our clients took off this morning and is sitting probably right about now is in the state capitol.
Wow.
And that's how quickly stuff moves. So
That's amazing.
yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it was literally a matter of hours and all of a sudden it's something completely different. And that's a tribute to our housing staff and recommending certain clients into to those offices. They came out, interviewed our client, felt that he was an appropriate person to represent the needs and issues collectively across the whole Commonwealth. He just happens to be picked to represent housing issues. So we'll get you that name because that'll be an appropriate person too. I think that we certainly would like to highlight from our community.
Absolutely.
Oh, I agree 100%. That's amazing.
So, Tom, what made you decide that you wanted to be the CEO?
Listen, nothing prepares you for one day you're walking around saying you're going to be the CEO. It's a journey of you always wanted to be a boss, and I'll put it to you that way in general terms. Circumstances and situations then eventually take place, and you gradually over time, more issues just sort of morph into things. And unfortunately for me, I don't want to say circumstances, but there were some issues going on in the agency back at that time period in the early 90s where the present CEO had to vacate the position. And I was the assistant, and fortunately for me, I knew many of the board members. They were very comfortable with what I was doing and the types of programming that I was running. They asked me if I would take on the position. It wasn't a position at that point in time that was real well respected. There was a lot of concerns going on with the agency politically and operationally, and I literally spent 3 years trying to correct those sets of dynamics to the point where then we started becoming more respected. So, yeah, it's not something you just walk around and say, oh, geez, I want to be the CEO. Yeah.
So, coming into LCAP, I wasn't aware of how many moving parts that this organization has. And you just said that you started out as a community support person. And basically, as a community support person, you're one of the first faces that people see because you're kind of the ins and outs and working all the different things that they may need, from housing to SNAP benefits and things like that. So starting in that position as community support and now as CEO, how have you seen things evolve within the organization throughout the years?
Well, good question. It gave me an appreciation for all levels of programming. I went from basically a community support person to the person who actually set up the ACT system. Eventually, we had 3 initial buses and the ability to set up a contractor, a subcontractor, automate that through a computerization system, eventually deal with the unionization of that system, become the assistant director, run a lot of programming from that capacity into regionalization initiatives that had to do with what is presently, you guys are probably aware of, the lead initiatives, a lot of the veterans coordination that goes on through the coalitions, a lot of the COC systems. Those were all byproducts of working collectively together with our peers and counterparts in other counties and getting them to understand it because they partnered with us. We weren't trying to steal their money. That was not the goal. The goal was literally try to put together a partnership of entities that could actually deliver services to residents of each of those counties. The trick was most of our counties in Western PA would never qualify for the larger grants. We didn't have enough need. We didn't have enough capacity. The types of scale that the federal systems were looking at or some of the state systems, we weren't big enough. The bottom line, we just weren't big enough. So the trick was, how do we put together partnerships of other counties and allow them then to step in? They take their piece of the action. We take what we do well, and then we move the dollars around. So having grown up in the systems, which was so important, I understood the role of each player in terms of their position and what their job should be and how unique. And as you said, the first responder that everybody comes through the door for, either you do the initial intake or you're the first person they're talking to.
Absolutely.
And that sets the tone for the whole relationship.
What is your approach to building a strong culture within our agency?
And I think that's really the key. That's one of the keyest things you could ever do is build a culture of why people do what they want to do. Do they take the extra step? Do they ask the extra 2 questions? And that's a mindset, and that's a style thing that I believe our agency does well, and it's a lot to do with the success of this agency, is every one of it. If any of you have actually been in other meetings with their peers in other counties, watch the difference between our employees and the other county's employees in the conversational style, the interest levels, the capacity to understand a fiscal question, the capacity to decide pragmatically what's the best venue or model to do it. Should it be a fee-for-service model? Should it be a delivery system model? And you'll be shocked. And I think I see Kim shaking her head. She's been around a little bit longer. But once you've done that, you recognize that if you're an LCAP employee, you think differently. Bottom line, you just think differently because that's how you're asked. That's how you're not trained as much as you become curious. That's the key. Are you curious enough to be concerned about the next 5 things? And what else could you do differently? What else could you take from a simple marketing and social media and turn it into a podcast?
Yes.
And then what? And then what? Yeah, that's the difference.
Yes. And I think you hit the nail on the head. And that's one of the main reasons why we wanted Kim to be a part of this podcast, because she is one of those big players in the things that go on within LCAP. So a lot of people who may be listening to this on the outside world, you guys may have called into LCAP and you may have spoken with Kim. So that's why a main reason why we wanted her to be a part of this show, because she is one of those people who show that they really do care, and they're one of those first faces that you do see.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I really do. I love our community and I love helping people. And that's what it's all about, is helping everybody and, trying to get them to that next step with a guiding hand.
Yeah, I think you do a really good job.
Thank you. I think you do too.
So what would you say is your favorite memory working here at LCAP?
Oh, boy.
40 years.
We had to stump you at least once.
Yeah. 40 years. It's almost like I've had like 4 different careers here, maybe 5 different careers. And each one I would say is created a different memory for different reasons. I think the one that probably gave us the most local uplifting was the day that we actually bought this building here at Grant Street as a nonprofit. We only had a small number of employees, and you guys realize this is a 28,000 square foot building between the 2 floors and all the employees that are housed here. We actually bought this, I think we had like 8 people.
Oh, wow.
Is all we had. And so we actually rented the bottom floor to the guy that actually owned the building. I cut a deal where he would actually rent the property from us, pay us, monthly rent for a period of 10 years. We took the top floor, but there was only literally, I think, 7 or 8 of us in the whole top floor, which is amazing when you think about walking up and down those hallways, because they haven't changed since we started that. And the reason for that is most nonprofits, when you rent property, you're in a small room, you're in a different house or church or wherever you want to go. This gave us stature in Lawrence County that we were here to stay. When you bought the building, it gave us a different identity than just an operator of programming. And so for that purpose, that really set the tone. Obviously, we've had way bigger purchases since then. I mean, Ben Franklin was one that is, and has been one of the unique buildings and landmarks in Newcastle forever, obviously. And then the FMC project has put us in a whole nother plateau, but it was the first one that gave you the foundation. And that's the key, again, to a lot of things we do is you always set the foundation, build it up, and then wait for the good opportunity to jump in at some point in time. And that's true pragmatically. It's true from buildings. It's true from staffing. And once you have that strong cultural foundational structure, it's way easier to build it.
And what's the quote? Build it and they will come.
Yeah.
Basically, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah,
Well, it's sort of funny when you have that much space. You're looking around. It's like when you buy a house and you have nothing in your one extra bedroom. You have nothing in your other area of the house. What do? You eventually go buy some furniture. You put a program in there, right?
LCAP's really grown a lot since 8 employees.
Yes. Yep.
And so looking ahead, what's your vision for the future for LCAP?
Well, I think we obviously have a number of programming areas, expansion areas on in the planning stages. We certainly have a new AX facility coming out to the campus. That'll be a little over $20 million. We're in the final design stages of all that, and that looks pretty strong. Our new solar project that will actually power up and energize the whole campus. We're almost about a third through that. There's a lot of legalisms and connection points and documents that you have to submit through Penn Power, and then that goes into the grid operators and a lot of legal isms that are floating there. One thing you're probably not aware of, probably in about an hour, we're going to submit a proposal to the Department of General Services to co-locate and this is a bid procurement process. It'll be the County Assistance Office, the Unemployment Office, and the Office of Vocational Rehab that are all on the campus will all be co-located in one building. There are several buildings out there. So that process is going forward right now. That thing has to be in Harrisburg by tomorrow by 3:00. So we're submitting it today. Because in today's world, the old days, it was your copier breaking down. Now it's your server or your email system going down. So, yeah.
Thank God for Marty.
Yeah. It's amazing how what changes, but it still stays the same a little bit. And I think the next big thing, quite honestly, is AI. Is what is the future of AI and what is that role to the nonprofit world, to LCAP in general, because I guarantee you we will be one of the first ones in the nonprofit world that will try to figure out how to insert AI into our operational structure to be bigger, better, and faster.
Yeah.
And
I don't know what it'll look like yet, but I guarantee you that it's going to be on the table. Right.
Absolutely, because that's kind of where the world is going. And I know even Amber and myself, sometimes you use AI for different things that we're using. So it's good to kind of tap into those tools because, like I said, that's where the future is going.
Right.
All right. Well, we asked you some pretty hard questions, but I think it's time to have some fun. So we're going to move on to our quick fire question round, where Amber and Kim are going to ask you a few questions that are a little vague just to see, what you like, whether it's your favorite pizza topping or different things like that. So we're going to start out with our first question. If Kim, if you would like to go ahead and take over.
I sure would. So looking back, what is the best advice, Tom, that you ever received? And it doesn't have to be professionally. It could be personally too.
I guess it's to be open. and willing to hear out different versions of stories, and don't pass judgment until you have all the facts, because it's amazing. And this comes up through, most of the clients coming to the front counter type world, where you hear one thing, you've heard another story, then that's not necessarily true. Then somebody else lies, and it's the willingness to at least wait to pass judgment until you have all the right facts. And I think that's true with whether it's administrative decisions we make, whether it's service delivery questions we make, partnership agreements we're willing to entertain, and who you want to do business with. You make your own decision once you know what the hell the facts are. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So when you're not here at work being the CEO of LCAP, what do you like to do in your spare time?
Oh, I love the golf. I love to go to the Y Zone, or our own gym right adjacent to us, especially during Sunday football, because we have the red zone. You can put all the games on and work out. And next thing you know, an hour and a half disappears, and you had a good time and stuff. I enjoy my friends. Very, very fortunate. I still have a large number of high school buddies, collegiate buddies, or just people in general that I know that for, once you hit an upper age, that they're just not around. Fortunately for myself, I still have a fair number of those and enjoy their company at all times.
That's great.
And then obviously my sons. I spend a lot of time, doing something with them or participating with them. So yeah, very enjoyable life. No complaints.
Awesome.
Your older son, he just got married.
Yes.
Wonderful. Good. Yeah. Well, speaking of football, who are you rooting for on Sunday?
Oh, God. I hate all my miserable friends out in the Philadelphia area that I've been friends with for 40 years, because they nonstop text me continuously every time the Eagles do better than the Steelers. So I still put up with that.
I think Eagles fans are just as bad as Steelers fans. They might be the worst fans when it comes to football. Yeah.
Right. But no, it's hopefully you'll want a PA team to win when it was all said and done.
Mm-hmm.
And, I went to the Chiefs game and watched the Steelers play them this past year, and we looked like a JV squad playing against a varsity squad. It was embarrassing. So, yeah.
And I must add, that was one of the coldest games of the year. So for you to brave it out on that game, congratulations.
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah, too cold for me.
Yeah.
Way too cold for me.
That was the Christmas game, I do believe so.
Yeah. Christmas Day.
Yes.
Christmas Day. It was cold.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Any more questions for the rapid fire round?
Well, Janae mentioned your favorite pizza toppings. So what are your favorite pizza toppings?
Oh, pepperoni and sausage for sure. Yep.
Classic.
Yeah.
How about your favorite pizza place?
Oh, it's Pizza Joe's. Quite honestly, a little bit more old school. I still enjoy their thicker pizza a little bit. Augustine's was there when I was growing up, but I've moved on. I graduated onto Pizza Joe's.
Everyone goes to Pizza Joe's.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tom.
Mm-hmm.
And if you had one word to describe your time at LCAP, what would it be?
I would call it an adventure. I mean,
Awesome.
and I'll just end it with, we're getting ready to start another huge one. If you haven't been paying attention to the news recently and the changes with the new administration and what programs are going to be in, what's going to be gone, what's going to be moved, this is a completely different era than we've ever seen in our careers. And nobody knows where it's going. I mean, I think that's the only thing I can say is you hope for the best and prepare for the worst. So,
And with that being said, as we start to wrap things up, if you could give advice to, your employees here within the company, or someone who is just working within nonprofit organizations or government organizations, what advice would you give them with the times changing and everything going on in the world right now?
I would continually try to diversify your skill sets as an individual employee. I would continually try to be curious about what types of other operational systems can be out there or should be out there. Like everything else in life, where something's going bad, there's another opportunity. There's always different
Absolutely.
opportunities. And you have to be thinking, well, if this isn't working this way, a version of that is going to pop up differently over here. And what would it look like, and what should I be thinking of that would be something that we would want the agency to take on, or I should be preparing myself for? We here try to do a great job of trying to take program people, let them understand what the fiscal implications are. We try to take the fiscal people, make them understand the programming questions, so that as both are doing their job, they understand predominantly, like, that's a great idea, but do you just realize that cost $5,000, or did that just cost $25,000? And once you appreciate that a little bit better, it's a lot easier to run, manage, and operate your programs from a staffing perspective. They get it. They really start to ask it, and they think about it. That's the other thing. There's a lot of great ideas. Everybody walk up and down the street of Lawrence County and through Newcastle will tell you these great ideas about resurrecting and redoing economic development. You just don't realize to take those 3 buildings down, put up another building, and move that over here. Well, that's only $35 million. So where's that money going to come from? Right. So from our staff perspective, I think many of the staff work in a diversity of programming. Nobody, for the most part, is singularly just that's all they do. They jump across programming areas and share their times differently. So, the diversification or the appreciation of those things and the needs and the skill sets that are required to be successful in all 3 lanes at the same time, that's what they're learning, is how do you do it? And are you flexible enough? How do you take 3 lanes and turn it into 5?
All right. Well, just to wrap it up, I know I asked you that last question, but is there anything that you wanted to get off your chest or off your heart before we wrap up this episode?
No, I certainly appreciate you girls and the work that you're doing. I think it's a phenomenal expansion of services here for the agency. The extension of what Sportsnet was starting to be, and how we visualized and mentally thought Sportsnet would be an extension of how do we share in the community in a way in which we thought the community would want to hear us. Everybody in Western PA loves sports, especially in Newcastle, Lawrence County, in the area. We try to figure out how do we insert our programming, knowledge base, and the activities that we're delivering inside that system where they accept it and don't tune us out. And I think to a large extent that's been done. I think this is another extension of that. And I think whatever you guys come up with, from the AI world and the extension of how we can advertise and market, provide information back to the community, that's going to be extremely valuable.
Well, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Tom, for being our first guest. I know it was a little nerve-wracking. We had to email back and forth a few times, but I think it's important for not only employees, but also the outside world and our neighbors in the community to hear your voice and hear your story. So that was one of our biggest motivations to start this show. So Tom was our first guest, but we have so many more wonderful stories to tell. So you guys, please tune in, and we will talk to you next time.
Thank you so much, Tom.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone.